These are electronic games from Giiker. I'm really excited. Giiker sent me these 3 games to review, and actually they're really unique takes on some classic game formulas. So let's dive right in, starting with the Super Decoder. If you have ever played the board game Mastermind, you're gonna recognize this little guy's gameplay style right away. First off, I really enjoy the design here. They have a little counter that tells you how many puzzles you've solved, and an indicator for all of the different color types. You'll see this when I activate here, which also I really like this. The on-off switch and the player indicator also looks really whimsical. This looks like a little antenna or something off of like a Star Wars device. Now you can see I've already played it a few times on this setting. We're using what's called a direct clue. So you'll see that I have a row of colors, much like Mastermind. This is your code key. So I can tell from this row of colors based on the row of lights below it, which ones belong in the place they're in, indicated by a green light, which ones belong in the code but aren't in the right place, indicated by a white light, or if there were no lights, that would mean that that color is completely misplaced in this code. So now what I would do as a player decoding this would use this little dial to place the colors where I think they belong. So of course, since some of them are mismatched, I'm immediately going to just switch their places. And this one looks like it belongs exactly where it's supposed to be. However, I have no idea where this one's going to be. I'm going to leave it in place just so I can see where the other ones fall. Okay, so I've got 2 of them right. So that means to solve this, I put red here, and it looks like I'm going to put purple right here. Teal is in the right spot, so we'll put it right here, and we'll put blue right here, and let's enter our answer. I love the little fanfare. I love the blinking light. That's really exciting. When you do 2-player, you get 2 of these little light up antennas. So the first player will set the code, and then they'll set how much time the second player has to play it. Now, there's also indirect codes. Now, this is going to be more akin to Mastermind. So players who've played Mastermind are going to see what I mean. Now your indicators are on the side, just like the original game, and signified by these lights. So you can see 2 green lights, meaning 2 of these colors in the code are in the right place, and 2 white lights, meaning 2 of these colors belong in the code but are not in the correct place. Now, I'm not going to dive into trying to solve this, especially because the camera angle doesn't give you the best view. In fact, I'm going to have some B-reel in here so that you can actually get a close-up of what these puzzles look like. But I gotta say, I love the overall build quality. This thing has just a really nice feel. One thing that's universal across all 3 of these games is they're very tactilely pleasing. The other thing is all of the plastic that lights up and everything, it's got kind of a frosted finish. So I'm not worried about this getting all scratched up. Usually when you have hyper smooth plastics, and in particular light up spots, it's easy for them to get damaged, cracked, or scratched. But I'm impressed with the overall build quality. I love the little counter that tells you how many times you've solved a puzzle. It's nice and portable, and I want to point out, part of that portability, I always like to look at the game boxes. And all 3 of these game boxes have these flip open fronts with these nice flap closures here to keep them closed. All of the game boxes for all 3 of these games looked wonderful. This one had a nice little insert here, keeps everything in place. So if you don't just want to throw this haphazardly in your pocket, or maybe you want to store it in the closet, keep dust off of it, this box is more than adequate for game storage. You also get a nice kind of accordion fold instruction manual here. However, like I said, what's funny is when I first looked at this game, I was kind of wondering how I was going to control it with just a dial and a button. But once you figure it out, it's really neat. And it's actually a fun convention for controlling that game. So I do enjoy it very much. This is an awesome game. So now let's slip over to the super slide. I love that, slip over to the super slide. So this is a neat little slide puzzle here. Very small, very portable. I will say, if you're taking this on a trip, you will want to keep the box, because I don't have all of the pieces in the board here. I have some of them set aside because they don't actually stow in the plastic body, but the box has a really nice organizer because you only have a couple of small pieces. So there's this nice little slot that they fit into. When you fit the game into the box, everything stows really nicely. So again, nice travel size for this classic slide puzzle game. And I say classic, but the modern twist is really cool. So these little pieces are actually magnetic and they sit on top of a magnetic pad on this board. And so the idea is much like any other slide puzzle, you slide them into place. So again, the rules state that once you've set up the board, you have to solve the puzzle without lifting any of the tiles. Check out this indicator here. So when you start this light up indicator, I'm on level 6 from having done a few. I actually let Mrs. Old Crappy Couch try this, and I'm really glad that she loaned this back to me so I could finish the video for Giiker, because boy, she just had a kick out of this game. So this is the screen. You'll see that little tiles are kind of flashing. That's just to indicate that this screen is letting you know how to set up the puzzle. Once you're ready to play, you push the red button again and they all lock into place. And from then on, your goal is to try to slide these tiles around. And listen to this. I'm gonna get this up to the microphone. It really sounds nice. And this is kind of a tough one because my goal is to try to get this red triangle to this red square. There's a triangle in the middle of the square, but this red square to this center pad in the bottom of the board that you can see kind of indicated behind these. Once I actually get them out of the way, maybe I'll have a better chance here, but let me see. There we go, and we're about to solve it right. That was cool. I really like the sound of sliding these tiles around. It was a little hard solving it from this perspective because I'm used to having it on the table in front of me. But this is an awesome little slide puzzle. I thought this was a lot of fun. Let's have a quick look at this rule book for the Super Slide before we move on. Now, this is a nice little full color printed fold out, plenty of pictures to let you know how to set the game up, and it is really simple. And that's the one thing that I admire about all three of these games is the game itself is simple, but that doesn't make it easy, and it doesn't mean the strategies for any of them don't get more and more complex as the difficulty increases. But nice little rule book, fits well in the box. Like I said, the box has plenty of room to store all the spare parts, so this is plenty portable and very sturdy. Now, let's move on. This one is probably the one I'm most excited for. I enjoyed all three of these massively. I gotta say, I probably will never get to play the Super Slide again because Mrs. Old Crappy Couch is going to claim that one, I'm sure. I don't know. That's going to be something that I'll have to handle with care. But this bad boy, I'm going to keep on hand. And this one, this has sparked off a nice, fierce rivalry between me and the missus. This Super 4 is going to be very recognizable for many of you who are familiar with the classic game Connect 4, but this has a three-dimensional twist. So each player gets 32 of these awesome, and I mean awesome, stackable markers. I like these. They're nice. They're chunky. Each one of these places is actually like a little pressure button here. So when you put your piece down, it's kind of like those old electronic chess sets Radio Shack sold. You put your piece down and you press it just to lock in where it goes. Now, this has an AI opponent that varies with 3 degrees of difficulty and a multiplayer mode, as well as a player turn tracker, and these arrows help you indicate the winning row. Let me give you an example of how a game plays. Now, similar to chess, the white character goes first, black character goes second as defense. I'm going to break these apart a little bit so that they're easier for me to handle, because when they're stuck together in a stack, and yes, that's a legal move, you can stack these up to 5 high. So I have actually won by connecting 4 vertically. A lot of the strategy for this game is also very similar to chess in that I find I have better luck when I try to take control of the center of the board first. And it gets tricky when things get vertical. If you drive a game into verticality, boy, you really have to pay attention because misdirection absolutely works as a strategy. So here we go. I'm going to put it on the first difficulty for the AI. Now, the player indicator is towards you because that's normally the first player position with all the buttons, right here and Giiker facing up. But this will be easier for demonstration purposes. All right, and it's telling me that the AI opponent wants me to put their marker on this blue space. Okay, now it's my turn. I can put it anywhere I want. I'm going to go right here. Now the AI is going to try to block me. And I do not want to let them get 3 in a row there. And they don't want to let me get 3 in a row there. This is going to get ugly. Oh no! Oh no! See, I've already shown a fatal flaw because there's no way that I can block them from connecting 4. So you got to watch that. I have won with that strategy and lost with that strategy, but you really got to pay attention. If you get hasty when you're moving like I did, this machine will definitely put you through the ringer. And what I enjoy about these difficulty settings, because I have won against level 1 and I've lost against level 1 multiple times while I was testing this, I really enjoy that it feels like it is set up in such a way as to teach you the game and to help you improve. You know, I've played against those electronic chess sets. Like I said, Radio Shack used to sell them in the 90s. I remember loving mine, but I don't think I ever once beat it on its easiest setting because it was absolutely cutthroat. What I've noticed about playing against the AI opponent on this game is in the lower levels, I can recognize when I'm being toyed with. I made some counterintuitive moves just to see how it would handle them. And actually what I thought was funny was, much like playing against a human, the couple of times that I won playing against the little AI in here, I did stuff that didn't make sense as sort of a misdirect to get it to react to me. I've done that with human players. When playing against Mrs. Old Crappy Couch, doing misdirect moves was a huge part of our strategy. And the thing is you really lose track of how many ways you can connect 4 in this. I mean, I want to give you an example here is you can connect traditionally like this. You can do diagonally, but then the other thing is you can do levels. So for instance, if I'm blocking you, let me show you here. Woo! I'm going to use the white pegs so that you can easily see the black contrasting. You can get a diagonal line, and that works. You can get a vertical, like I mentioned earlier, and that works. So all of these planes count. I've had it where I'm battling for control of the middle board, and I completely miss the fact that my opponent made a row of 4 just on the second level there. I've had so many times where I've been misdirected or managed to misdirect my opponent. I gotta say, this is one of those games where the gameplay itself, understanding the rules and understanding how to play, very simple, but it does not at all mean that the strategy is not complex. Once you start to get the fundamentals of the game down, both the AI will throw curveballs at you, and you'll start to notice how important curveballs are to throw at your opponents. So I gotta say, I really love this Super 4. I also like how both it has a clean aesthetic, yet the colors are used judiciously, very functional. Like there's no wasted space on this board. This doesn't feel like any design on this is superfluous or made for art or aesthetic. Everything about this is very tight and very right. About the only thing that I'd ask for would be better storage for these game pieces, like a compartment within the game board itself, but that would make it quite a bit chunkier. And the game box has a really nice organizer in it that's more than adequate for keeping these pieces together. So, and I actually saw online you can buy a caddy for this too, a little like fabric shell zipper, like what you get for a tablet, that'll keep track of all these pieces too. But they're not tiny. I mean, you run the risk of them rolling away a little bit, but you're not going to lose these super easy. I actually, like I said, man, the texture of these, the type of plastic, the weight is just right. These aren't heavy, but they just, all of the plastic on here feels really nice. It all has a light texture to it. It's not super smooth. I do worry when I have pure white plastics that they might start to yellow or collect grime easily. And one of the ways that this is built into sort of a pan, like you have this white faceplate and then it sort of sits in this gray pan, I could see where this edge might be something that I'd want to watch, but that's really kind of being picky. Take care of your stuff and it'll stay fine. But I mean, anytime people are handling stuff, eventually, you know, you get, for lack of a better term, finger grease on things. So, but the nice thing is it's all plastic. This would be super easy to clean. Like, I'm not worried about wiping this down with antiseptic. I'm not worried about wiping any of these down. I think the worst damage you might do is take the brand name off where it's painted. But other than that, you know, I mean, obviously they're not waterproof, but I mean, if you're just wiping them clean, yeah, these are all nice chunky plastic surfaces that would be super easy to sanitize. So another kind of win for the design here. So like I said, the game box here has this nice flip open with these locking flaps. This is a tray divider, so you can put all of the little pieces here. You can put the game board here, and this is deep enough to stack like the white ones on bottom and the black ones on top. That's how it was delivered to me, so that's kind of how I pack it up. And yeah, I mean, attractive box too. There's no BS on any of these boxes. They highlight the actual product. They show you the features really clearly. I was kind of wondering what was up with these little arrows actually being painted on these, because there's nothing painted on any of these pieces, but they actually, the artist is trying to show you that having these indicators lighting up and shows you which row is the winning row. They also do a similar thing with the Super Decoder. The Super Decoder actually has markings on the back between some of the game spaces that I was sitting there going, well, that's a really busy display. That's going to be confusing. But when I actually broke this open and played it, I realized this was the graphic designer trying to show you what the player's actions were to give you an indication of how solving a puzzle works. So in that regard, the design for these was very nice. Again, the rule book, this one is a nice full color printout. Folds right out here. Now, one thing that I thought was confusing is the first couple times I was playing this, I was thinking that when I could stack stuff, I could count a move like, say, this is really stupid on my part too. I'm going to full well admit that. But supposing that I had like 3 pieces here and my opponent blocked me, initially I was wondering why it didn't count to kind of make this little line over them, because I wasn't thinking 3-dimensionally. So I will admit, the first 1 or 2 games, I was trying to figure out exactly how everything worked with connecting it. I felt really stupid when I realized that I wasn't looking at it the right way. But I'm not going to lie. What's funny was when I started playing with Mrs. Old Crappy Couch, first 1 or 2 games, she kept, you know, doing the forehead slap and going, I'm not thinking 3-dimensionally. And that's really what makes this fun. This is like something I'd expect out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, it's so genius in its simplicity, but nice rule book, nice storage box. The game itself is an absolute delight. This is easily one of my favorite games that I have gotten to test this year. Such a delight. All 3 of these are wonderful. All 3 of these are wonderful. I just got to say the Smart 4. The Smart 4 is really, really top tier here. I love this little Mastermind guy. This one here, the Smart Decoder, is such a neat take on the classic game. So again, it can be kind of hard to play that classic game when it requires a second player. So getting to play it single player, what a treat. And I love the difficulty settings on it. And I like that it counts how many times that you have solved the puzzle on this counter so that you can keep track. And again, the display on this, I really like, I mean, how it tells you to set up the puzzle. Look at how clean and pretty that is. And I like the sound of the pieces sliding all over the place. It has a nice kind of click slide. Like it's very, very nice. And the feel too. Again, I always talk about how I love games that are very tactile, and this is exceptionally tactile. All three of them in their own way. I mean, even the Super Decoder, I felt like I was a safe cracker when I was, I don't know why, but when I was turning this dial, the clicks are just light, but they're perceptible. So you're click and lock in place, and click, 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 and lock in place. Like I really, and that actually had an effect on the multiplayer. I do want to say when I was playing this 2-player with Mrs. Old Crappy Couch, I experimented with doing different time limits for the puzzles and things like that. And I noticed that when under the gun on a shorter time limit, it's much, much easier to overshoot the color that you're trying to set because you start to get nervous and start making really fast movements. And it's important to be smooth, you know. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So yeah, Super Decoder, Super Slide. We've got our Smart 4. All three wonderful games, and I'll tell you what, I got a special treat for you. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Check out my promo code here in the description because you can get 15% off your purchase if you want to pick one of these up. So awesome games. Thank you again to Giiker for sending these out for review. What a great treat. And hey, everybody else watching, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.